This goes in stages.
Mr.
I've been
President,
in these negotiations before. It started off, shush up, okay? Thank you.
This is my video update from Napa, Cyprus on this Sunday afternoon. Let's talk about some news. And I'm going to try and find a way to get to the beach, to get to the water from here. Let's see which way can I go to get there. So let's talk about Artyomovsk, Bakhmut. And we have some more news from the end of the battle of Artyomovsk, and we had Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Russian Ministry of Defense. They came out yesterday with an announcement, a statement, where they said that Russia has indeed liberated Artyomovsk. They have full control of the area, and Putin congratulated the Russian military and the Wagner forces. And we can now say without a shadow of a doubt that this part of the conflict, the battle for Bakhmut, has now come to an end. And even Elensky, while he was in Japan, trying to be big in Japan, but he ended up being kind of small in Japan. He had to admit that the Russians have control of Bakhmut. Actually, a reporter asked him the question right before he was going to meet with Joe Bidenopoulos, Greece's favorite son. A reporter asked him, is it true that the Russians have control of Bakhmut? And Elensky was like, yeah, they do. Actually, I think the reporter asked Elensky, does Kiev still retain control of Bakhmut? And Elensky said, I don't think so. That was the direct quote from Elensky. That was right before he met with Bidenopoulos, and Bidenopoulos then gave Elensky $375 million in U.S. military assistance. And Biden said that he's going to support Ukraine for as long as it takes. So that was Elensky in Japan. The fact that the Russians have taken control of Artyomovsk, it really put a damper on the G7 Japan meeting. It really spoiled their party in a big way. And you could see that Elensky was kind of out of it. Not that he's ever in it, but he was more out of it than usual. And Biden, looking at the photos, Biden didn't look too happy. There was actually a point in the day when a reporter asked Biden about the debt ceiling, and Biden, obviously annoyed and angry, frustrated, because he's just getting all kinds of bad news. He told the reporter to just shut up. He was like, just shut up. I mean, the guy was visibly upset. A day of bad news for Greece's favorite son. But we had Putin saying that it's over. We had the Russian Ministry of Defense saying that it's over. We had Elensky admit that it's over. But we got the news from Reuters, which claims that the Battle of Bakhmut is not yet over. Of course, we could see this coming. According to the Collective West media, Commander Sirsky is claiming that the Ukraine military still has a little bit of Bakhmut, and they're going to hold on to this little bit of Bakhmut in order to launch the big offensive to the counteroffensive of the offensive. That offends me and you and all of us. So according to Sierski, according to Reuters, according to much of the collective West mainstream media, the Battle of Bakhmut is not over. And I'm looking for the Reuters article. I think I bookmarked it. Yeah, here we go. Reuters says, Elensky says Bakhmut still in Ukraine's hands. So isn't that interesting? When he was asked by reporters in Japan, probably not enough time to prepare a script and prepare what he needed to say. The reporters asked him about Bakhmut, and unscripted, Elensky was like, I don't think the Ukraine military has control of Bakhmut. And a day later, once the scriptwriters have had some time to think about how they're going to spin this, they said, you know what, just deny it all. Just say that we still hold a sliver of Bakhmut. Seashell, that is the name of this sculpture. Seashell. So yeah, Elensky one day says that Ukraine doesn't have Bakhmut, and a day later, the narrative is, we still have a piece of Bakhmut, and we're going to hold on to that piece because we're going to need it for the big counteroffensive, according to Sierski. And you know why Sierski is saying this. I know why Sierski is saying this. I know exactly why Sierski is saying this, because Sierski doesn't want to be sent down to Kherson and Zaporozhye, where the real offensive to the counteroffensive of the offensive to the spring, winter, fall offensive to the. Did you see that lizard? to the spring, winter, fall, summer, spring, fall offensive, where the real action is supposed to take place for the Ukraine military, which is in Kherson and Zaporozhye. Well, Sierski doesn't want any part of that because he doesn't want to be the guy that's leading the forces to disaster, and so he's trying to make up any excuse to stay put in the area around Bakhmut. So Sierski's like, no, we still have a little bit. We still have just a couple hundred meters. We still have it. So don't send me anywhere. Send Zaluzhny. Oh no, you can't send Zaluzhny because Zaluzhny is missing. Where is Zaluzhny? Milley said he talked to him on May 19th. Today is May 21. And Milley, according to the Pentagon, the Joint Chiefs of Staff statement was that Milley had a phone call with Zaluzhny, or was it with Vovan and Lexus, as many people in the comments said yesterday when I mentioned Zaluzhny. Maybe it was a prank call. But look, Zaluzhny, he is on record now saying that he has spoken to Zaluzhny. Milley has said that he has spoken to Zaluzhny. He said that all is good. They've been strategizing and talking about the big offensive, and everything is going as planned. But where is Zaluzhny? There are rumors, and I think these rumors are starting to pick up a lot of momentum, that Zaluzhny was injured in, I've heard in Pavlograd. That's what I've read, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But he was injured in a Russian artillery strike, critically injured, actually, and he was taken to a hospital in Kiev. There are rumors that his wife actually went to the hospital, like in the middle of the night, and she stayed there for like 3-4 hours because his situation was so critical. And that's the true story behind the disappearing Zaluzhny. And I'm starting to believe that these rumors are actually true, because you can see that the Ukraine Ministry of Defense is trying to prepare some sort of of distraction, some sort of, I wanted to say alibi, but that's not the right word. I don't think that's the right word. Anyway, they're trying to prepare the narrative that Zaluzhny has been taken out by the Russian military. So the Ukraine Ministry of Defense spokeswoman, she said in a statement the other day that Russia is preparing an assassination attempt on Ukrainian Army Chief Zaluzhny. Interesting. Very interesting. So can you imagine this, like in 3-4 days, Elensky comes out to give his nightly Instagram, TikTok post, and he says, "People of Ukraine, I have some bad news. The Russian military, they poisoned Commander Zaluzhny, and he is no longer with us." Can you imagine something like that happen? And then, of course, you have the entire collective West mainstream media. They run with another Putin poisoned someone narrative. You know, they love it when Putin poisons people, even though like 99.999% of the people that Putin poisons, they end up staying alive. But in this case, this is going to be the 0.001% of the person that Putin poisons that doesn't make it, or he ends up in critical condition in a Ukrainian hospital because of the poisoning. Something like that. I can definitely see Russia, Putin poisons Zaluzhny. Boy, oh boy, will the mainstream media love that one. That would be a great script for the collective West mainstream media. Vladimir Putin poisons the commander of the Ukraine army. Boy, are people going to lap that one up in a big, big way. So there's a chart that is floating around the interwebs. Not even a chart, I would say a list. And I'm not sure where this list originated. I'm not sure who put this together, but it is everywhere. And it is basically a list of all the forces that Ukraine and NATO threw into Bakhmut, only to be ground down, to be defeated by Wagner. And it is an amazing list. I mean, if this is to be believed, and I'll put it on the screen right now, if this is to be believed, then we're looking at 100 to 120, 30,000 casualties in Bakhmut alone. Wagner took out so many brigades. You can just count them: 45, 43, 26, 28 brigade, 62 brigade, 109 brigade, 116 brigade. I mean, the list just seems endless. And it took out regiments like Kraken. It took out a lot of the Azov fighters. I mean, if this is an accurate list, even if it's half true, even if it's half accurate, it's pretty stunning what Wagner and what the Russian military did to the Ukraine military in Bakhmut. Here's a tweet that says, Ukraine poured just under half of its brigades into Bakhmut and were not able to hold it, taking immense casualties along the way in men and equipment, losses that are irreplaceable for Ukraine. It is part of the reason the spring offensive never happened. Bakhmut was a trap. Incredible stuff. Really, really is incredible stuff. If this list is accurate, then what a mistake Bakhmut was. What a tragic mistake that the Elensky regime made, but they got trapped in their own media narrative. The minute he presented that flag, that Ukrainian flag, to Congress on December 21st, and he gave it to Pelosi and to Harris, and he said that Bakhmut is going to change the trajectory of the war, and we're going to hold on to Bakhmut, and we're never, ever, 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 ever going to leave Bakhmut, and we're going to drive the Russians out of Bakhmut. The minute they started down that road, they were trapped. And the mainstream media just amplified that narrative, and it was over. They had to stay in Bakhmut no matter what. Where for the Russian military, it was the opposite in Kherson and Kharkiv and wherever else they were fighting. The Russians never trapped themselves in a media narrative because the Russians were fighting a conflict, a war first, a war of attrition first, and the media narrative, the media spin was way down. But for Ukraine and for the collective West, the media spin is what they're actually concerned about. Let me read you a Twitter thread here. I think there's a really good thread from Ukraine Maps. And this account says, Russia defeated the number 2 army of Europe with a PMC. Because Wagner, being a PMC, it had a lot of problems, including lack of ammunition, lack of armored vehicles, lack of artillery. However, even against all those odds, they managed to set an example of heroism, patriotism, and idealism when fighting their better equipped enemy. The retreat of Kherson was what it actually was, a retreat. Russia didn't stay there to fight it out with their enemy in a conventional war. They retreated. Same thing in Kharkov. So comparing Kherson and Kharkov with Bakhmut is a totally wrong comparison from its fundament. In Bakhmut, however, the Ukrops stayed and defended with all their might and power. They threw everything they had in Bakhmut, their best of the best, their mercenaries, their foreign legions. Everything went to Bakhmut, but it was not enough. Yeah, that's right. It's pretty spot on. For the Russian military, Kherson and Kharkiv was just territory. Let the Ukraine military take over empty territory. We're not going to try and hold on to something that isn't critical in this conflict. And so the Russians, they just moved back to better defensive lines in a very orderly manner. And they set up better defensive positions. And the Ukraine military, they went to Kharkov, they went to Kherson, and it's okay, the great Kherson counteroffensive, the great Kharkov counteroffensive, and the media was going crazy. They were so happy. The EU leaders were so happy. Bidenopolis was jumping for joy. Nuland, Blinken. It was the end of the Russian military, the end of the Putin regime. Just because the Ukraine military took over empty land that the Russians realized would have been hard to hold on to and was not worth it. It was not worth losing Russian soldiers' lives to hold on to this territory. But in Bakhmut, it was the exact opposite. The Ukraine military, Elensky, he trapped everybody into this narrative, and they couldn't retreat. They should have retreated 6 months ago. In an orderly way, they should have gotten out and fallen back. But Elensky couldn't do it. Bidenopolis couldn't do it. Sullivan couldn't do it. Blinken couldn't do it. And so you have the disaster that we are now seeing for the Elensky regime and for the collective West. So yesterday in my video, I said that May 20th, 2022 was the loss of Mariupol. May 20th, 2023 was the loss of Bakhmut. On May 20th, 2019, Elensky was inaugurated as the president of Ukraine. I had no idea. May 20th. Very interesting day. It's a very interesting day. So Elensky, he did meet with Biden, and he gave Biden his peace proposal, and he said, and I quote, Ukraine offered the formula of peace to the world. We have developed a peace formula in such a way that each of its points is supported by UN resolutions so that everyone in the world can choose for themselves the point that can help to realize. From Japan to Arab countries, from Europe to Latin America, we find support for the peace formula, and we continue this work. So Elensky's peace formula is a peace formula without Russia, just so everybody knows. Russia's not allowed to take part in Elensky's peace formula. That's some peace formula that Elensky has cooked up. And it's open for every country in the world, every region in the world to take part in. It's like an a la carte peace formulas, according to Elensky. There's something in it for everybody, according to Elensky. What a clown. What a clown. So look, what's next now? What is next? What's going to happen going forward? Bakhmut, Artyomovsk is complete. What happens next? Well, here's my quick take on this. And I'm sure we're going to get into it in more detail on a show with Alexander on the Duran. But here's my quick take. Ukraine has 4 months, right? There's been a timeline that has been set. Financial Times reported on it. The Wall Street Journal reported on it. Ukraine has 4 months to create some sort of win that the media can latch onto, that they can amplify, and that the collective West leadership can sell to their citizens so that they can keep the war going. They have 4 months. Okay, we have a new wonder weapon on the way, the F-16s. That's also on the way in about 4 or 5 months, whatever. We have the Storm Shadow missiles. We had the Patriot. Now we have the big one, the F-16s. I mean, after the F-16s, there really isn't any other wonder weapon outside of a tactical nuclear bomb that the collective West can give Ukraine, right? I mean, the F-16s, we're getting to the top of the top as far as wonder weapons go. So the F-16 is going to be coming. We have a 4-month timeline, let's say September, October. That's when Ukraine has to do something. And we have this defeat in Bakhmut at a time when Elensky was hoping to be in Japan, and he was hoping that everything was going to be all smiles and celebrations, and he was going to get more money. I was going to get more money. Damn it, Wagner. I traveled to Japan. I was hoping to get much more money, and all I get is 375 million from Biden. I can't even buy 5 homes with 375 million. So, the whole timing of all of this was just awful for the collective West and for Elensky. And I'll get into that in a bit, because the collective West, when the news about Bakhmut was confirmed, they shifted to China instantly. Instantly they shifted to China, but I'll get to that in a few minutes. So what's going to happen? Well, Elensky's going to have to launch something. He's going to have to launch something. I think it's going to be something that can have a real media spin to it. Something like the collective West the media can really sink their teeth into, right? So they're going to launch something. It'll probably be in the Kherson, Zaporozhye direction, as I've said in many, many videos. The easiest media target is the nuclear power plant, the ZNPP. That's the number one media target for the Elensky regime. So they're going to look to do something. It's not going to be so important for the Elensky regime to take an action that could change the trajectory of the war, or that could lead to the defeat of the Russian military, or anything like that. I think all of that is now, I don't even think they care about that stuff anymore. I think what they're looking at now is, in the next 4 months, let's just do something, even something small or something mediocre, just something that the media can then blow up and spin it into something huge and something great. And that will give us the narrative that we need to extend this conflict out through the remainder of 2023 and into 2024, which is a U.S. Presidential campaign. And so it'll buy Biden some time as he's campaigning. He'll be able to say, Ukraine in September, October, look at what they did. They took over, I don't know, the ZNPP, or they took over, I don't know, this territory in Kharkov, or they hit the Kerch Bridge, whatever. I mean, I don't even know. Just something that Biden can also run with, and he can use when he's debating, but who even knows? Something that he can use when he's sitting in his basement and he's talking to the teleprompter. Anyway, that's the plan. That's what I think is the plan. They're going to rush to do something, and I would imagine that's going to come very soon. That would be my hunch. like in the next weeks or month, say like by June, July, August, I don't know. It's something very, they're going to look to do something very, very soon that can give them some media momentum. It's not going to change anything as far as the conflict goes, but for them, it'll help extend the war out. And that brings us to China. That brings us to China because there are a lot of forces in the collective West, specifically in DC, that want to drop Ukraine altogether. I think they've had enough of Ukraine, and they're like, look, we gotta really start focusing in on China. And this loss in Bakhmut is going to really make their case. I think they're gonna really press and really push now for the Biden White House to drop Ukraine or freeze Ukraine. I think that's going to start to get some momentum. Freeze Ukraine so that they can focus in on China. And we saw it yesterday. As the news about Bakhmut dropped, what did we get? We got Rishi Sunak, who just a few hours earlier was hugging Elensky and kissing Elensky and whispering sweet nothings into Elensky's ear. And then Sunak comes out and he's like, China is the number one problem. It is the greatest threat that the G7, NATO, the collective West, the UK faces. Ukraine, what's Ukraine? Sunak was like, Ukraine, what's going on with Ukraine? But Mr. Prime Minister, I just saw you hugging Elensky. Who? Who's that? Who's that? It's China. It's China. That was Rishi Sunak. It's China. It's China. You could see the puppet strings. Someone up there pulling the strings. It's China. It's China. Everyone's looking at me. What's that guy doing over there? I'm imitating Rishi Sunak. Anyway, the puppet strings on Sunak. So yeah, that was Sunak. It's all about China now. Von der Crazy came out with a statement about China, and she said, it is important for us to offer real alternatives to, for example, China's One Belt, One Road initiative. And here is our joint initiative on infrastructure investment outside Europe, outside the G7. We are talking about a 600 billion euro package that the EU is launching together with the US and other countries for targeted infrastructure investments in the global south. We will have to take giant steps. That was Von der Crazy. China. It's all about China. The EU is going to create an infrastructure slush fund to compete with One Belt, One Road. Yeah, good luck with that. The EU is going to have trouble keeping on the heat come this winter. I seriously doubt they're going to be able to compete with One Belt, One Road. I don't think any country in the global south is going to take the EU seriously. But, you know, Ursula, she loves her slush funds. Boy, does she love her slush funds. Any problem that Ursula runs into, just create a slush fund. There's a slush fund for that. It's like an app. There's an app for that. There's a slush fund for that. China's the problem? Slush fund. Ukraine running low on ammo? Slush fund. Elensky losing Bakhmut? Slush fund. That's Von der Crazy. Everything is about a slush fund. So the attention is now on China. We'll see how long that lasts, and we'll see what happens going forward. No doubt, the news about Bakhmut was a big punch right in the nuts for the collective West. It was the last thing that they wanted to hear while they were all gathered together in Japan. And isn't it interesting that the collective West media refuses to admit that Bakhmut has been lost? Didn't they pull the same stuff on us with Mariupol? Was it Mariupol? What was it? Mariupol was an evacuation. Wasn't that what the collective West media was saying about Mariupol? It wasn't a surrender. It wasn't a retreat. It wasn't a loss. It wasn't a loss. It was an evacuation, a strategic evacuation, I believe Reuters called it. A strategic evacuation. Now they're not even admitting that Bakhmut has fallen. No. We still have a sliver of it. So technically, it hasn't fallen. Incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible stuff. Should we do a couple of clown worlds here? Let's see. I'm just looking to see if we have any more stories. Oh, since we're on the topic of China, how about Hillary Clinton and her interview to the Financial Times for the weekend edition, where Hillary Clinton says that Ukraine war has set back China's plan for Taiwan. Hillary Clinton, she's pivoted to China as well. And you always got to remember that Hillary Clinton may appear to be loony and insignificant, but she's the person that controls Sullivan. And many people believe that Hillary also controls Blinken. So you always got to keep that in mind when Hillary speaks and when she puts out her policy positions, especially foreign policy. It's pretty much what Sullivan and Blinken are going to execute. So Hillary, she says that Elensky and the Ukraine military, what they actually were doing, the real purpose of all of this was to buy time for Taiwan so that Taiwan can defend itself against China and so that China can have doubts about invading Taiwan. That is what Hillary Clinton said in this Financial Times interview, in a wide-ranging interview at the FT Weekend Festival in Washington on Saturday. The one-time Democratic presidential candidate who served as America's top diplomat under Obama offered stark assessments on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, U.S.-China relations, and U.S. President Joe Biden's re-election prospects next year. Clinton warned that re-electing Trump in 2024 would spell the end of democracy in the U.S. and the end of Ukraine. She described Putin as complicated, messianic, narcissistic, authoritarian. The Russian leader had believed that if Trump won the 2020 presidential election, he would have pulled the U.S. out of NATO, she added. It would have literally been a cakewalk for him. And so when Trump didn't win, he figured he had to go forward, Putin. And of course, what she says to describe Putin is just all projection. Always keep that in mind. She's not describing Putin, she's describing herself. Narcissistic, messianic, complicated, authoritarian. I don't know if she's complicated, but she's definitely authoritarian. Anyway, let's continue here. This turned out to be absolutely the wrong calculation, she added. Putin going into Ukraine was the wrong calculation. Clinton said she believed she was reevaluating his approach to Taiwan in light of Putin's failure to swiftly take over Ukraine. She said that she had previously assumed that she would make his move against Taiwan within 3 or 4 years of consolidating his power in China. But she added, I think Ukraine has really set that back. I mean, what has happened in Ukraine has had a significant impact, in my view, on the Chinese leadership. Yes. The whole purpose of the strategy in Ukraine, this escalation of the conflict in Ukraine for the Biden White House, it's all been one misdirection, a sleight of hand. It's actually always been about buying time for Taiwan. All right, let's do some clown worlds and we'll wrap this video up. And the first clown world, courtesy of Medvedev. And remember the little tweet? It wasn't an argument, but the I don't even know what you call it on Twitter. The thread, the going back and forth, the conversation that Medvedev had with Elon Musk in October, 20th of October, 2022. And I guess they were discussing what was going on in Ukraine. I don't remember the whole thread. But at one point in the conversation, Elon Musk, he tweeted to Dmitry Medvedev. He said, "By the way, how is it going in Bakhmut?" And I think that was the end of that conversation. So that was Elon Musk, really sticking it to Medvedev, right? How are things going in Bakhmut? And well, yesterday we got Medvedev's response to Elon Musk. At Elon Musk, "You've asked me about Bakhmut. Come and see for yourself." Well done. Well done, Medvedev. See, if you're a little patient, eventually you get your W, you get your win. So Medvedev, he had a really good response to Elon Musk there. And let's do one final clown world. I'm going to put a cartoon on the screen. Take a guess where this cartoon is coming from. It is from the UK Telegraph, the Sunday Telegraph. From what I understand, the Telegraph is super pro Ukraine, super pro Elensky, but they put up this cartoon. And obviously, it's mocking Elensky, it's mocking the leaders of the G7, and this is coming from UK mainstream media, the Telegraph. What does that tell you? To me, it signals that Elensky is coming towards the end of his run. His 15 minutes of fame, and it was much more than 15 minutes. His 15 hours of fame are expiring, because when the Telegraph put up cartoons like this, you know that things are not good for Elensky. So that is the clown world. That is the video. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rockfin and Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, and Telegram, and go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code Good Day.